Video from me, David? Hi,
Oh,
everybody.
am I
Welcome to
not?
you are not. Hi, everybody. Welcome to your weekly
Oh,
broadcast and call. My name is Lee Honish. I am joined, as always, by David Bartels. How are you today, David? There you are.
hello, everybody. I am doing just fine. Thank you very much. I'm
Excellent.
enjoying the sweater weather.
You know what? I thought I was going to be able to shoot on my porch and show a lovely coastal eddy here in San Diego. I'm right over by Balboa Park, and we had an extraordinary coastal eddy in the area, and it brought in nice, cool, low fog. And then, literally, as we started to shoot, uh, the sun came out. So, go figure. It's typical San Diego weather.
Well,
It's why everybody wants to move here, I imagine.
right.
This is your weekly broadcast in regards to real estate trends and so forth. So let's talk about those trends. First and foremost, an update from last week. I did wind up getting those engagements. If you want to find out more, go on to Lee Honish Marketing on Facebook, or you can go to honish.io and you can see the whole series. I actually laid it all out, David. I actually showed everybody what I did and how I made the content and how I drove them back to your ultimate landing page and all the steps in between. So if you guys want to see that, go ahead. There, I'll put a conclusion video with what the final numbers were and how I got to them. With all of that said, let's talk about the news again. These shows tend to get higher numbers for us. I'm just being brutally honest. That's why I enjoy doing this. We're going to talk today about Cure Solutions and the impact on real estate. So as I understand it, there are two cures in the work as it stands right now. Is that how you see it?
Yeah. Pfizer and is it Moderna? Does that sound right? And they're both saying 95% efficacy, and I didn't really know what that means. And for other people that don't know what that means, I think that means that if you get the vaccine, there's only a 5% chance that you can still get the virus. So it's pretty strong.
What? What's it? I unmute
What?
as a spider walks across my
Okay,
screen.
you
Uh,
all
I'm
right. I
good now.
lost you.
No, that was on me. So what impact has that brought to the stock market community?
Well, the stock market soared, and then I'm not really sure what it did yesterday. I think it was down a little bit, and I don't know. I haven't looked to see what it's doing today, but I think in general the stock market is positive on it because a vaccine is going to be really great for the economy.
Yeah.
So that's stock market likes things that are good for the economy, like low interest rates and lots of people working and low unemployment and those kind of things.
So has that brought an uptick in actual real estate transactions as well?
Not yet. Not that the problem with real estate transactions is that it's kind of a trailing indicator, right? And, it may take months for us to really see what the impact of individual events are or a trend of events might be for real estate. But I think in general, people are anticipating that it's going to be very good for real estate. The questions that we have are about the reshuffling that's taking place. This migration from the big cities, San Francisco and New York, and some of these more dense places that people are there because that's where the jobs are, to more of the suburbs, and whether or not people are going to come back. And a lot of that has to do with whether or not these companies are going to continue to allow people to work remotely, and why in the beginning they seemed to think that remote work was no big deal. I think over time they've realized that productivity has been reduced by 25 or so percent from people working at home, and there's likely going to be a push to move people back to homes or back into the office, which means they'll be moving back into the big city. So we don't know whether or not the reshuffling that's taking place in terms of where people are going to live is permanent or temporary yet, but the vaccine is one of the steps in that direction to figure it out.
If you had to guess, and you were starting to play this as a trend, right, which is what we kind of do on this broadcast, let's talk about it from a trend perspective. Where would you focus based on the direction of where the companies are, or the direction of the fact that we do have these they're not cures, they're, why am I being escaped on this,
Vaccines.
they're vaccines, thank you, big word.
Yeah.
Where would you start to invest your efforts, you as a broker? What looks like the best projection for you?
Okay, so real estate is hyper local, right? So how I might go about it is very different if I were in New York City or I was in San Francisco versus where I'm at today in, the Thousand Oaks area of, Ventura County. So we live in the suburbs. So, I've already had the best quarter that we've ever had in the middle of a pandemic. We've sold the most number of houses in a month than we ever have this month already, and it's the 18th, and we have a bunch more still to go. So our business is very good, and our pipeline is very full, and we've seen that's as opposed to the worst summer that we've ever had. So you contrast the best quarter we've ever had, I take that back, not the best quarter, but the best fourth quarter we've ever had, and then compare that to the worst spring and summer selling season that we ever had. And so what we've been talking about here before is that we thought that the summer selling season was just delayed, and it was going to be extended into the fall, which has happened. And we didn't think that it was going to really lose any steam going into January, and mostly because people are unconstrained by school schedules, because all the homeschooling that has been taking place, people haven't really been worried about doing that. There's still high demand for people wanting to buy houses, and we think that that's going to only increase as you get into next year, and especially accelerate with a virus. So in our with a vaccine, not a virus. So if we were to get into this, we're planning to really hit the gas really hard with massive marketing campaigns to really get the word out and to get ahead of this. And we're beginning that process right now. If I were in a bigger city like San Francisco, obviously there appears to be a decline in rents, a big decline. I think I read something that New York was down, rents were down about 30%. They were trying to entice people to come back into the city with really low rents, and that seems to be working. So rents will eventually come up. If I knew that if I were in that market, I'd be going to my sphere of influence and say, listen, if you think you're coming back, come back now and lock in these low rates. These big markets have a tendency to be bigger rental market than sales markets. And I think that there's been some impact on real estate pricing where they may get the very best value that they're ever going to get, where in my market prices are going up, but in San Francisco and New York prices are coming down. And if you knew that you were going to be coming back in January, February, March, April of next year, now's the time probably to buy real estate to take advantage of the discount that basically COVID has created, and then to build some equity immediately over the next few months, where it could be one of the fastest increases in equity that we've seen in a very long time. So there are multiple ways to play it, depending on what market you're in. But because most people are not in a big city like that, now is really the time to get buyers out. Because if the economy picks up, am I going on too long?
No, you're doing great. You're doing great. I have follow-up questions. You're doing great.
Yeah, if the economy ticks up, like, because of a vaccine, it's possible interest rates will also tick up. So the interest rates are really going to be tied to the economy in general. And if they see the economy really starting to gain some steam, you can anticipate an uptick in interest rates, which will then slow buyer demand. So right now you've got this perfect storm of reasonably good prices that are anticipated to go up based on demand, and you've got low interest rates, which are also anticipated to go up because of an improvement in the economy, which makes buying now versus later a really good idea. And if you're a seller, now might be the really best time to sell because there's such limited inventory, and we're expecting a surge of inventory to begin after the first of the year and build and build and build. And what we don't know is whether or not we're going to have a buyer pullback, whether or not buyer demand is going to continue to exceed availability that we've been seeing. And if that does, that would make now the best time to sell as well. And of course, we don't have a crystal ball, but we have an obligation to make sure that our buyers understand what we know today versus what we might see in a few months from now.
Okay, so let's break it down. There's a lot to unpack there. So let's start with
I know I realized that was a very long answer and didn't know where to stop exactly.
I'll break it down into pieces. I'll do my job. I'll do my job. Let's start with your message to market, right? So your message to the market is going to primarily be focused at the interest rates going up in the future and based on that projection. So what does that marketing look like for you?
Well, what we're going to, the way that we're doing a big shift in how we market, right? So we're actually doing a lot of what you've been preaching for a long time, and that is really focus on content. So we're in the middle of creating a whole bunch of content around interest rates, around buying power, around first-time home buyers, and really making sure that people understand that buying a house is a really big important decision, and that timing the market really isn't a good idea, but you've got to focus on what you know versus what you hope for or fear. And that's really the kind of content we're doing. A lot of content marketing around that, simply to educate people and make sure that they understand that now is a good time to buy and sell, and why.
No, that makes complete sense to me. No,
interesting to me. Well, let me just finish with this thought. Is that it's interesting to me because rarely is it the best time to buy and the best time to sell, and we seem to be there. Usually, it's a good time to buy and a bad time to sell, or the other way around. Now, for the first time that I can recall, it's both maybe the best time to sell and the best time to buy, based on what we think the market is going to do first quarter of next year.
Right. And I agree with you. So the question is, how do you convey that in the form of content, right? So you've got to keep it simple. You've got to convey these messages. These are very, how do I put it? These are, in some cases, it's fairly complex to the average homeowner. So how do you keep it simple enough when you create the content and you create that message?
Well, for instance, from this conversation alone, I am inspired to build a blog post, if you will, around what a vaccine means for housing in 2021. So in this case, I'm not going to write it. I'm going to find some articles that I know that have showed up in my inbox here recently, and I'm going to send them to my virtual assistant in the Philippines, and I'm going to have her take a stab at writing 2 or 3 blog posts about about the vaccine and the impact, not plagiarizing somebody else's content, but taking their content and kind of repurposing it for what we're trying to do, and even quoting some of the people that might be quoted in that article, and then use them as a source. And all we have to do is give a footnote: content originally found in an article on Inman News on such and such a date. And as long as you give credit and then you repackage, the information, you've got a great, little blog post as opposed to an article. So you can,
Yes.
if so people who are wondering how do they create content is that, first of all, you be well read, right? And so you read an article, it resonates with you. Next thing you know, you start thinking about how that might apply to your market. And then when that happens, then there's a reasonably good chance that other people are going to think that way and would like to know your opinion. And in the process, you both educate them and present yourself as an authority. And you do that over time, and next thing you know, your friends are calling you, asking you about, is it a good time to buy? Is it a good time to sell? Why do you think it's a good time to buy? Why do you think it's a good time to sell? Wouldn't it be better if we wait? Our price is going to come down. And you're having those conversations with people on a regular basis. And those people turn into buyers and sellers eventually. And they start to consider, once you are identified as their source for information of all things real estate, you are also their agent, whether or not they're doing a transaction. And the big thing that people in general don't understand is that they don't see themselves as having a realtor or a real estate agent unless they are engaged in a transaction. So one of the things that we do is when we communicate with our people is say, listen, we want you to consider us your realtor. So any question you need a handyman, call us. You want to know what the impact of upgrading your kitchen might be on your home values, call us. If you just want a periodic valuation of your house, call us. If you want to know what your buying power is based on a certain interest rate, call us. Any question. You don't have to be engaged in a transaction for us to be your real estate agent. We don't want to just be your agent when you're doing a transaction. We want to be your agent in between transactions, and that's how we do multiple transactions over the years with the same people. And it's also how you build referral business. And so we want to be everybody's real estate agent. And one of the emails that we send to our database all the time is, who's your realtor? And then is the subject line. And then we go through there and explain why we're their realtor and how they can use us, and that you don't need to be in a transaction to have a realtor. I mean, after all, I have a lawyer when I'm not in, don't have a legal case. I have an accountant when it's not tax season. Why shouldn't I have a realtor when I'm not in a transaction? Think about that.
No, it makes complete sense. And I agree with you. And I think what people forget is that content is the long game. It's not the short. It is in some cases the short game, but ultimately it's a long game. It's a well-played long game of getting it up on a daily basis, constantly putting it out, constantly making sure it hits the correct demographic. As we documented with last week, it wasn't enough to just get people to click on your website. It was important to me that they were from California, that they understood the message that I was after, that the messages were germane. And to keep it simple enough, I was actually watching Gary Vaynerchuk just yesterday. Yes, I steal from Gary V. And he brought up a great point. He goes, we're really lucky in the digital age of social media because you can run free ABC testing literally before you launch and release a campaign. And that's what I did in this case. I put out 4 campaigns. The one that got the most traction was the one that I got behind and shared within the local buy-sell groups. And that's what got the generated traffic that I was after. Go ahead.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, that's what we're doing right now. We're running ABCD campaigns, and we're just testing it. We're spending, I think, $5 a day on 4 different campaigns. It's a nominal amount of money, $20 a day to really figure out. And as we see stuff that is really working, we continue to tweak that and improve the content and the messaging. And the stuff that's not working, we just get rid of it and replace it with something else and see if that also resonates. And that allows us to really define what our message, not based on what we think is going to resonate with people, but what actually resonates with people based on put it in front of them, and using social media as a focus group to figure out what helps get the most traction, and then, like all good sales and marketing, do more of what works and less of what doesn't. That's how
Yes,
it works.
definitely fish out the hole. I'm a firm
Right.
believer of this. Fish out the
And
hole until there
right.
is
And
no fish left to be had.
right. And I am always surprised that the thing that I think is going to absolutely positively be many
Never.
times better than the other things is not. It's
It's not.
it's worse than a lot of cases. The
It's
cheesy
actually
stuff,
the dumbest simple stuff. It's
yeah,
always the dumb simple stuff.
the stuff I think is cheesy and unprofessional and not, and online with brand. That's the stuff that seems to work, and it makes me crazy that. And so I have just given up trying to predict what's going to work, and now I'm in the just test it and tell me what works, and don't ask me what I think. You tell me what actually works, and then we can maybe refine, make it pretty and refine the message. And we just put it out rough now. We don't even, I don't send it
I
through the
agree.
marketing and creative teams and let them do it. We just put it right out there, and then once we see what works, then we bring it in house and we really put the creative around it in order to, to make it fancy, and then test it again. And this is for the same reason why in drip marketing campaigns, the guys put intentional typos in their messages because they want it to look authentic and real. They don't want everything to be so polished,
Yep.
so they intentionally put typos in their stuff. With me, I'm a typo king. I mean, I don't, I just, always tell myself, slow down, don't hit send until you've proofed it. And if you've ever gotten emails from me, I'm not sure I ever sent one that didn't have a typo. I'm working on that. I don't want typos to be my brand.
No, that's probably not a good brand call, but I'm a copy, cut, and paste. I mean, when I was running the stuff for your stuff last week, I ran it as a pure link. I ran it as, I'll pick a couple of photos, and ultimately it's the simple video that kills
Yeah.
it was the least amount of effort of the 4 pieces I put together, and it just ran all day. And once you get that organic buzz, or somebody shares it and it gets into the stream, people get confused about this. And I'll say this from a marketing standpoint. Facebook does a tremendous job of feeding it out. Whichever one gets picked up, that's the one you run with. And then you're looking for that organic click, the first person to click it, the first person to like it. And then that's how you get to the terminology of uh, going viral. Everybody thinks viral means I did 1 million views. No, it means somebody clicked it, somebody liked it, and that's what really puts it into the upstream, and really gives the branding and the content the action that it's after. Done correctly, it's amazing. It is a sight to behold. David and I were just looking at the numbers on the video that ran great. 1,000 people looked at it. Got the Everhome name out as far and as wide as I could get it. Got 136 people to click. I mean, that's win-win. That was the only goal, and they were all in California. Yay. That's good marketing. And for all of you that are listening, do something. I almost feel I'm getting the feeling of futility of explaining content marketing to people, David. Do something. Record audio, record video, turn on your interview somebody at your local bakery, anything at this point, because I think we're going to certainly for the foreseeable future, this is how business is going to look. It's going to be this form for a while longer. Maybe you can expand on that a little bit.
Well, I think I think that we're going to have the best year in real estate ever recorded in history in 2021. That's what I think. And there's going to be a lot of competition for buyers and sellers out there. And you've got to create some differentiation between you and everybody else. So, if 1 in 95 people in California are real estate agents and your friends have 500 Facebook friends, that means 5 or so of them are real estate agents. And the question is, who are they going to do business with? You can't be a secret agent. You got to communicate that people to people that you are in the real estate business. I know a lot of people, including me, really don't like these these boasting posts, just listed, just sold, another great. I mean, we do that. I don't like to do it, but we do that. And what I find that people really want to engage with, they really want to know what your opinion is. How's the market doing? Where's the market going? How does COVID impact real estate? Those are the things that they want to do. And just all you got to do is find a couple of news feeds that you like. My favorite of the moment is Inman News. A lot of MLSs offer it for free as part of your membership. Mine doesn't, so I have to pay for it. I'm not sure how much it is a year, but it's worth it because I get at a glance, I get highlights of industry related articles, and I can read through them and spend 20 minutes a day, and that makes me feel well read. So if you can feel well read in 20 minutes a day, it's a really pretty good, investment. And it also prepares you to have these conversations and have an opinion. And once you become more informed, you can see, when they announce interest rates are going up, you can instantly, calculate what that means in terms of how that's going to impact the market. And next thing you know, you see an article, interest rates are going up, and you go on the Facebook and you write a quick, post. I saw this article and it made me think that with interest rates go up, that's going to reduce prices and because it reduces buying power and the average income is not going up, which means da da da. So, act now, act later, whatever it is your opinion is. Don't just share the news. Don't just find an article you find interesting and said, hey, interest rates are going up. No, tell people what that means to them or what it could mean to them. And the people that need to see it will see it. And even the people who aren't in the market for a house, will and may not even read the article. They will note that you are offering your opinion, and that the point when they do start to think about entering the market, they will begin to pay much closer attention to the things that you're posting. And next thing you know, you're their realtor and you haven't even had a conversation with them yet. You don't even know you're their realtor. They're getting their news from you. They're treating you. Once you become their real estate expert and they start following your advice or thinking about your advice, you're their agent. And when they're ready to transact, they're going to call you or they're going to connect with you in some way that's going to allow you to fully engage them in the transaction.
I don't want to say this because this is a trade secret, but podcasts and videos make you an expert by default. People don't get that, but it gives you
writing a book. Right. There's a lot of people that don't know a thing about writing a book. If you want to be a speaker for a living, the number one most important thing is to write a book. You write a book, now you go out and you're introduced as the author of you could have sold 3 copies.
Oh yeah.
Yep. You could have sold 3 copies and you're an expert. It's really the business mode.
I am the author of Monster Marketing, for God's sakes. It was a bestseller on Amazon. I mean, how can you beat that? And David, you were voted in the Simi Valley as the greatest realtor by a group of your peers. And a man I'd like to call mentor and friend. The real secret, really, everybody, the reason we're doing this, it's doing this. It's getting on and shooting video. And if you can't do it, get somebody to do it for you. I don't want to. Somebody who will hit the record button and clean it up and put the titles and put the tags on it and make you look like $1 million is crucial to your business. This is not going to go away. At best case scenario, this is over by spring of next year, and that's what I think Fauci said. But let's go with the worst case scenario: 4 to 6 weeks of another possible lockdown, and you want to continue to do business and build your audience. Learn to make content. Learn to talk about COVID. Learn to talk about the things that are important that people want to hear about. Did I miss anything, David?
No, I mean, listen, this isn't complicated. It just requires effort, right? So you've just got to decide that you're going to do something and do it. And you don't need to start with video or a podcast or anything like that. Just read an article. Start this way. Read an article about real estate, post it on your Facebook page, write some commentary, offer your opinion about what that is, encourage people to read it, draw their own conclusion,
and then copy and paste it on LinkedIn, copy and paste it on Twitter, copy and paste it on wherever else you can put that stuff. Put it on your personal page, put it on your business page, put it on your website, create a blog on your website. Go to WordPress and start a blog, push people back there. And then next thing you know, you got a landing page for, you put in a box here, fill this information out for to to ask questions and to engage or to call. Just find an article you like, write your opinion, put it on Facebook, start with that. That's all you got to do.
That was a definite do something moment. That definitely had the, and I hear you. I mean, I went back to WordPress for my newest website just because I wanted the attraction. I mean, I'm trying to get over the security issues of it, but that's just me being a nut on the topic. Do something, put something up, engage your social media crowd, join groups, I didn't do anything special with Everhome for our experiment last week. I joined San Fernando homeowner groups. I joined buy-sell groups of homeowners in Southern California, and I put the content in there. I could be completely wrong, but that would indicate to me, based on the way that Facebook is structured, that the million people that I shipped my information to were in Southern California and generally homeowners, which is your audience. I'm not. I wish I was reinventing the wheel, but I'm not, David. I'm just not. I created 4 pieces of content. I waited a whole day to see which one did better in my stream. The one that did better, I took it and I force fed it into these homeowner groups throughout Southern California. It seems fairly logical to me. It could be completely wrong. Whatever the case, do something, get motivated. Next week maybe we'll go back to some motivational stuff. I don't know. Everybody likes that too, David. I hate to say it that our presidential episode, which people thought overwhelmingly the election would have an impact on real estate. Overwhelmingly, it's still going. It's now at 90% believe that the election will have an impact on real estate. Maybe. I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I think it's going to be good. I mean, I don't think at the end of the day, Republican president, Democratic president, the stock market goes up. The real estate goes up. It doesn't matter. What people don't like is the uncertainty. That's what they don't like. They don't like the uncertainty. And that's what once there's certainty, then everybody, goes. People aren't going to, listen, if everybody left the country and moved to Canada that said that they were going to do that if Trump won, we'd have had a housing crash. Okay. So, everyone's here. The market went up. If, Biden's going to be president and the market's going to go up, it doesn't matter. It may impact your taxes. It may impact, interest rate. The market's going to go up.
So in other words, stop doing nothing and waiting for a shoe to drop. Go out and market, create some content, make a video, make a podcast, copy, cut, and paste. Do what you got to do. People, get up.
That's right. That's right.
And we will see you here again next week with more information for all of you. Please visit our proud sponsor, Everhome, everhome.io. Find out about the future of real estate. Simple as that. Pretty soon we'll have commercials here. You can hear everything.